My brother was killed, as far as I'm concerned, in this front yard.
Those are the words of Brigette Armstrong, a day after her brother died in police custody. The Oklahoman's Juliana Keeping spoke with family members and the police on Thursday, looking into how the death happened, including a demonstration of the restraint method that was used. Clifton Armstrong died in police custody after officers used a common restraint system called the hobble restraint. The 38-year-old Armstrong appeared to be suffering from a mental illness and believed his family members were trying to kill him. Police restrained him with the help of family in the yard of the home after he stripped off his clothes. Here's Police Captain Dexter Nelson.
Yesterday at approximately 9 p.m., Oklahoma City police officers and fire department responded to a house in the 1400 block of Northwest 99th Street. The call was received two different ways. It came in as a panic alarm to the fire department from the residential alarm at the house, and it came in as a 911 trouble unknown disturbance call to the police department. The calling party was determined by the first responding officers to be suffering a mental illness or a mental lapse. The individual was delusional, thinking that someone was trying to kill him in the house. With the help of the family, two officers were able to get this individual outside, at which time he stripped off his clothes and became combative and uncontrollable. With the family's help, officers got him on the ground and tried to restrain and calm him. This did not work. Additional officers arrived. They were able to get him in handcuffs. They were able to apply what we call a maximal restraint, which is to confine the legs and the arms so that the person can't kick and run. Shortly after that was accomplished, they were monitoring this individual, and it was determined that he was not breathing. IMSA was called to the scene. He was transported to a local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries and he passed. The medical examiner would determine what this individual died of. The person has a history of mental illness, and there was some history of substance abuse. Don't know at this time if the person was under the influence of anything at the time of this incident. The case will be investigated by the Oklahoma City Police Department's homicide unit, as is typical protocol. We're treating this as an in-custody death. Although there were no charges, no criminal charges on this individual, the officers were attempting to place him in emergency detention for medical reasons, to take him to a medical facility. This will also be followed up by the Internal Affairs Unit for administrative review.
But Clifton Armstrong's sister, Brigette, is upset about previous incidents involving her brother and the police, and that her family was told to go back inside during this incident.
He was willing to go to the hospital. He was told by them he couldn't get in that car. He got to get in this car. Like I told you, this wasn't a grave circumstance. He had no clothes on. He wasn't no hurt or harm to nobody but his own self. They made my mom come into this house with my grandmother. Why they did something to my brother to the point that he is no longer here. And we with him. Why did they want to not let my mom stay out there if she was not hindering their investigation or their quote-unquote crime scene? This man called the police on himself, meaning that he wanted help. And if the ultimate decision was to kill him with help, what kind of police officers do we have out here protecting our children? That's one. Number two, why was my mother not able to go with her son to that hospital? They had questions for her for what he died in front of them. They lied to us all the way. They told my mother they was taking her to the hospital. They took them three down to the police station. My mother, her roommate, and my grandmother.
To take someone in an order of detention, sometimes they're not restrained if they're cooperative. If they are combative or uncooperative, the officer will use whatever methods are necessary to restrain them. Sometimes that's just handcuffs. Sometimes it's handcuffs and what we call this maximal restraint hobble system. Sometimes it's not.
We're going to start with the handcuffed person here. My partner is going to stabilize while we put the restraint on. What he's doing is he is holding the person still if they're rolling around. That way we can apply the restraint. He's also monitoring to make sure they're breathing and they're staying coherent. The entire application the whole system together is called the maximum restraint. The first part that we're going to place on will be the rip hobble. This is going to go around the ankles, across their legs, stabilize their legs down so they don't kick up at us, make a big loop, feet it under both feet, and just tighten it down. Once we get their legs secured, we'll apply the sit belt, which is part number 2. And we do it easily just by rolling the person one way or the other. We'll feed the belt underneath their stomach, all the way back and out. It's got a latch here, we just put it together. And it's got a D-ring. We get the D-ring in the center, the small of the back, the belt above the hips. Once we do that, you can either link the hook here to restrain them, or if they're kicking a lot, we'll bring their feet up. We will take the hook through the ring. We'll bring it back around, and we will link it back around the ankle. This will limit how much movement they have to 24 inches. This hold together will be called the maximum restraint. Notice that we are not doing hands to feet. Their arms are left up there. We make sure we go underneath the handcuffs at all times.
In this particular case, the officers are placed on administrative leave because it did involve a death until such time as the investigations are completed or the chief reaches enough information to believe that he can put them back to duty. I'd also like to add in this particular case, once they determined that the subject was not breathing, the officers did attempt to administer CPR until medical arrived on scene.
Meanwhile, Brigette Armstrong remembers her brother as a kind man.
My brother and I were 4 years apart, pretty close. Almost best friends, you will. What I know is that my brother was a good guy. He may have had his own issues, but 1 and 2 for sure. He was a good person. He was a father of 3. He lived a very hard life, but at the same time, he was very strong.
Stay with NewsOK.com and The Oklahoman for updates on this story.